My name is Scott Cumming. I am the president and founder of a nonprofit called Dyslexic Together. So I have a couple of announcements. I just want to acknowledge the fact that this is possible from a grant from the American Library Association. Next, I want to thank Jean and Sally at the Maynard Library for allowing us to use this room. Daniel from Stow TV, thank you very much for recording this. Tina from the Randall Library, she's the one who presented this program to me and wrote the grant up and sent the grant in. So if it wasn't for Tina and her forward thinking about helping people with dyslexia, then we wouldn't be here today. So this is a joint venture between Randall Library and Maynard Library. So I want to thank her too. And last, I want to introduce you to our teacher, Kelly Lawlor. Thank you very much, Kelly.
Thanks for having me, Scott. All right, thanks so much for being here tonight and for taking our class. This is just a very introductory basic writing course that we're going to be going through tonight. This is a part of an 8-week session, and anyone is welcome to join us at home or come on down to Maynard Library if you're local, and you can actually get involved to help us destigmatize dyslexia and to support learners of all ages. Especially, older learners that maybe haven't been in the game in a little while. So we want to just provide resources. I am a teacher. I've been teaching for 15 years in public schools in Massachusetts and Pennsylvania. And I teach 7th grade through 12th grade, so secondary education. I'm an English language arts teacher, and I am not an expert with dyslexia. I don't have formal training. There's a lot more that I myself can learn, and we're just kind of all going to be in here together working to kind of build on skills that we might already have, and we just want to kind of make them stronger, build on our strengths. So we'll go through and we'll review dyslexia a little bit, and we'll talk about people who might be more neurodivergent versus neurotypical, and we'll talk about how those learning needs might change or transition depending on your specific learning needs. If you have a disability, if you are neurodivergent, we're really just trying to figure out what works for you to make you a better learner, to give you the confidence that you need to be a better writer. So this is mainly focusing on writing. As an English language arts teacher, I'm not a reading teacher. When I get students typically in 7th grade, they're 12, they're 13, and we're really focusing more on organizational writing and getting our thoughts across clearly. We do a lot of looking for research and being able to use evidence and support our arguments. So that's really what we're doing today. Thanks for joining us. All right. So this is a QR code. Anyone can have access to this presentation, or you can send me an email. I put my email here, and if anyone reaches out to us, we can always email them our slides and our presentation from week to week. All right. So we're just going to get started. Here we go. All right, so we're talking about adults with dyslexia, and I thought what better way than to get started with writing in our journals, okay? So everybody, we do have, everyone has a pencil and a composition notebook, and this is really all you need to get started to get writing. There's a lot to know about literacy, and we talk a lot about multimodal literacies, and so basically that just means that you can read, whenever you're reading text, for example, there's a lot that your brain is taking in about the text that you're reading. You can grab image information from the images that you see on the page, and you're also grabbing information from the words that you see on the page. But really, we're taking it all in, and so we can be literate in a whole plethora of ways, all right? So we're going to start tonight with this composition book, okay? So to take the pressure off for our writers in here. No pressure at all. We are actually going to do a fun activity. So let's just open up your journals. And the best way to become a better writer is to write in this every day, all right? So this is a very English teacher strategy. Get a composition notebook and start just writing whatever comes to your head. So today is a journal. So this is just right at the top, journal writing. And we're going to make our first entry today into our journals. All right, so this is what we're going to write about today. Now I'll give you a prompt. First of all, I wanted to, every time that we have a class, I would like to talk about someone that has struggled in their life with dyslexia. A lot of times people just aren't always aware that that is something that they have to manage and learn. And that awareness piece is huge. Once you are aware of something, then you know how to deal with it. But when you don't have any idea, when you're not aware, you really just kind of feel like you're swimming without without any supports, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And Octavia Spencer is a celebrity that we're going to highlight today. And there's a few things in here that I thought would hopefully stand out to us that we could kind of connect to. So Octavia Spencer, early on, she knew that she had a difficulty when it came to reading aloud. And that's the thing about children today and what we're learning with dyslexia. It might present for different students in different ways. And, dyslexia is a problem, but also if we're looking at students that are neurodivergent or that suffer from attention disabilities, ADHD, then sometimes there are multiple competing factors that we just need to look into. And none of this is a problem. We're all just learning how to better support our students and members in our community. That's why we're here tonight. So early on, she realized that she had an issue when she was reading aloud. At first, it left her paralyzed with fear in front of her cohorts, her peers. Octavia Spencer is now an Oscar-winning actress. She was in The Help very recently. She was in the movie Self-Made, which is about Madam C.J. Walker. And this is what she said: "I was paralyzed with fear because I kept inverting the words and dropping words completely. I didn't want to be made to feel that I was not as smart as the other kids because I know that I am a smart person." So what we're talking about today also has to deal with social emotional learning and the brain. Teaching is very different 15 years ago than it is today, and even 30 years before that. There's been so much brain research, that it's, as a teacher, I have to develop professionally, and I have to keep researching and reading up on things in order to improve my skills to help learners that are in front of me. So what I want for us to talk about today, we're talking about how she felt here in this moment. So we're going to take just a few minutes to do our own journal writing. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do my own journal writing over here. And I want you to think about a time when you were made to feel like you weren't smart enough. All right, and you're just journaling. Let me encourage you with one other thing. The goal for this journal writing activity is to do bad writing. Don't have any expectations. This is not going to be published. You don't need a gold medal. You don't need a gold star for this. So let's just write about what you're thinking. When did that happen? What was it like? What was going through your head? Can you give us any context of the situation you were in? Adding more details is better for this type of activity, but just go for it, okay? So we are gonna do some bad writing. 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right. Everyone has a different experience growing up, going to schools, and sometimes it's painful to relive those experiences. But it might be nice for us, if we feel comfortable, to talk about them, or at least to write them down. So I will never ask you to share anything from your journal. If you want to share at any point in time, you can, and we can have a discussion. So I'll just kind of talk a little bit about my experience at a time when I was made to feel like I wasn't as smart. And the people that I'm spotlighting, I do just want to talk about this really amazing source. And a lot of what we're doing here tonight, because I'm not an expert, I'm a teacher in the field, I do have dyslexic students with dyslexia. I also have family members that have dyslexia, and my son, we're just kind of looking into it right now. I was a struggling reader, and I think that is a hard time when you're going through your schooling and your education. You do realize if you're behind or if you're ahead. And students, that's never going to go away, right? You're going to notice those differences around you. And it does make you feel like you can't do something, like you're not good enough if you can't keep up with the other kids. But in my own experience, I was a struggling reader, and my teachers noticed it, but it took a while. I think I was in 2nd to 3rd grade, and I was not a strong reader, and it was affecting other parts of my learning, because reading is a part of everything that we do in schools, even in our daily lives. But then I went to a tutoring center. So I grew up in Texas, and there were these things called Sylvan Learning Center. They're pretty big in different cities across the U.S. And at that center, I was able to get a lot of encouragement, and I was able to move through and get a lot of, I was motivated. There were a huge reward system. So as a child, that worked for me. And then I was able to kind of pick up and read. But my mom suffers from dyslexia, and it's harder for her to get through her professional development, her recertifications that she has to do with her job. So it's not easy. And so we all just kind of want to acknowledge these stories because they matter and they're important. So Octavia Spencer is our first story. And I'll continue to highlight stories every session that we have. And this is from the Institute for Multisensory Education. There are a lot of really great resources out there, a lot of books, podcasts that can help us. And so that's what we're just going to look at, these curated resources throughout the sessions. Okay. All right. And then if you just have a minute to read any of these other quotes from Spencer, but she got support, right? There was support, and support comes in all different forms. It can be a family member, it can be at home, it can be at school, it can be with your teachers, with your coaches, whoever it may be. But there is support out there, and that's why we're here. Scott and Dyslexia Together is all about that message that you're not alone. So she is one of Hollywood's biggest stars, and I feel like she kind of just took that self-confidence and that inner drive that she wasn't going to let anything stop her, and she is always going to have dyslexia, but it seems like she's found a lot of resources just to support her and to make her feel better with her reading and her writing career. Okay? All right, moving on. So this last quote, it doesn't matter your situation in life, your path is what you choose it to be. So just recognizing there are systemic problems, issues in our society. There are systems in place that we need to correct, but there's also that inner drive and confidence to kind of just go at it and face it head on. All right, so week 1, here we go. Let's get into the good stuff. Okay, so resources, and sometimes I talk a little quickly, but there's been lots of research on style guides. And so this is one style guide that does come from the UK organization around dyslexia. And they have a style guide that really talks about how to set up your presentations. And this matters to teachers who are educating kids in front of us, students that might be diagnosed dyslexia and students that might not be diagnosed with dyslexia. And so readable fonts, using sans serif fonts such as Arial, Comic Sans, and also some alternatives. Tonight I'm using Tahoma, and on my presentation I went 36 and 18 is this font. Obviously the screen and the, if I'm on a projector, all those things matter too. And we also don't want to have a ton of text whenever we're sharing information. But this says to use single color backgrounds to take distractions away whenever possible, avoid backgrounds that are super distracting or daunting, and to make sure that you have like a strong contrast level. So these are all things, simple things that teachers can do in the classroom, and things that we can start to do in our own lives. Just to make fonts bigger. You can do that on the settings on your phone. You can make your fonts larger so that you can see everything. All right, so that's one resource way that we can work through writing. So today dyslexia is not a barrier to success, but rather a different way of processing information, and that's what we want to take away. That all of our brains are beautiful, and we're all just kind of in this learning process and figuring out what works for us. So in the classroom, the biggest way that I think teaching has changed over the last 15 years is we're really talking about students and their assets. What do they bring to the classroom? And when you focus on asset-minded thinking, you look at problems in a different way, you look at challenges in a different way, and you really work with the student and the families to provide all the supports that your student needs in the classroom. So that's one thing that I think is really important. Yes, I used ChatGPT, artificial intelligence. Have you heard of it? We're going to talk a little bit about that today because there's so many apps and different robots, computer machines that can help us in our daily lives. And it can help all adults, and it can especially be helpful if you're an adult that struggles, that has dyslexia. I just put down information that I was going to cover in my class, and I said, hey, can you make me a course introduction? And that's what it did for me, right? I read through it, I edited it, I made sure that the words were words that I would say or use in my classroom. Obviously, sometimes when students are using these tools or devices, they don't know all the words, right? So then they're just presenting on them with some missing information. So it's really important that we're only using AI tools as an English teacher. This is a scary new world for me. But I want to make sure that my students are using them effectively because I don't see them going away, right? Technology continues to advance, and I want my students to be prepared for it. So that's kind of my mentality when we're talking about technology. So when has AI been used, right? So let's think about all the history behind artificial intelligence. Does anybody remember using a Word document and having that little paperclip guy that would come up with clip art? That was geared to what you were doing there, and you could just easily go grab something, right, from a pic collage. So that was a form of early AI, right? Does anyone use spell check or Grammarly, right? It's a great tool, and once we get through the slides and the presentation, we can practice more with technology. If you use Google, so Google is something that I have more experience in. So they're free. It's free version of Docs, Excel spreadsheets, right? But what's best about Google, in my opinion, is Google Chrome, the search engine. Everybody, look on your phone. Do you have the Google Chrome search engine? Does everyone have it? I have it. I also use Safari, but for me, there are just so many ways that Google can blend together and work with these different apps, so especially through the web store and the different Chrome extensions. So we're going to go over that pretty soon, okay? And there are some really cool features for adults with dyslexia. All right, so we want to kind of work through topics through each session. So this is just a broad overview of what we want to focus on. We want to understand dyslexia overall a little bit more broadly. We want to recognize our strengths. And this is really what I'm talking about here, is what are those compensatory strategies that can help you as a learner, that can help you in your daily life. So that's what I do as a teacher every day, is try to find the strategies to work with every student. We have education plans, and really, how has that changed over the years, right? Really every student, we should be seeing how every student works and what their needs are, and we should be giving them what they need. So we do have individualized education plans that we follow, but we also have other strategies that you can use within your district, especially in Massachusetts. We have district curriculum plans, which help create modifications and accommodations for all students, even students who are not yet on an IEP. This is huge. All right, leveraging assistive technology we'll talk about. Building confidence and really advocacy and self-empowerment, right? If you know that you're not getting something, you have to talk to someone. You have to find support, and there is support in your schools, and there is support in your communities, as we have in Stow with Dyslexic Together. All right, by the end, every time, I also would like us to focus on a different writing practice, all right? We're really going to push the writing, so we're going to look at different ways to format different real-world writing techniques that you would use, and we'll come up with any kind of creating personal action plans. What are the strategies that work for you that you're going to try after this course? All right. So let's imagine a world where everyone is accepted for who they are, and let's just learn a little bit about dyslexia.
7.53 billion people on the earth, and 1 in 5 of those people are dyslexic. That's 1.55 billion people. And here's the thing, many of them won't be properly recognized for their different way of thinking, especially when they're younger. They'll be told they're slow, or unable to keep up. Their potential won't be realized, their future's made more difficult, because over half the children who leave school unable to read or write are dyslexic. They're more likely to be disadvantaged. They're more likely to be incarcerated. So what's failed them? Where have we gone wrong? Education. People with dyslexia have shaped the world. The light bulb, the smartphone, flight, they all sprang from the wonders of dyslexic thinking. They have the skills the future needs. So imagine if we could unlock the potential of those 1.55 billion people. It's a mind-bogglingly big task that can start with something so small. What if we started in schools, training teachers to learn about and spot dyslexia and the best ways to teach the children who have it? Made by Dyslexia and Microsoft have created modules allowing teachers to do just that. And all 100,000 teachers in New York City have already done so. Now, we're asking all teachers all over the world to join us and receive the free online training. Take a day to learn dyslexia, change a child's life, and change the world.
All right, so this was a pretty big partnership. Anytime, I think the point of education, I think what gives me purpose in my life and what I do is that I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not trying to keep anyone information away from children, and especially today, right? Information is at our fingertips. So how can I show them tools and skills that can help them organize the world around them? So there is this free training that I want to take myself. I don't know all that Microsoft offers. I have learned a little bit more about some Google strategies and some different online tools. But this is amazing. So just like the ALA providing us with the grant here to provide this course, there are partnerships and resources out there that want to make this more accessible, right? Teachers do need to be trained, and students do need to know, and parents and families need to know if dyslexia is something that they need to be aware of, and the compensatory strategies to work on them. All right, so moving on, and that's 1 in 5, so that's huge. Whenever it actually puts the numbers out there like that. So achieving success. We want to be successful, all right? And so we're going to practice and what's going to work for us tonight. But we really do need to think about our mindset. What are our strengths, right? And how can we best capitalize on those strengths? All right, so there's a lot of assistive technologies that I know Scott did a presentation on just a few weeks ago. So there's so much text-to-speech software and apps. There's a lot out there that's free. There's a lot out there that you can always pay for so that you get, the higher features, the more quality features from it. And, something that my school uses that's more of a free version is the read-write through Google. And so I'd like to show, once we get into the technology phase, I'd like to show you how that works and what students can do. Read-write from Google is awesome. It's free. You put it in your Google extension, and then it pops up at the very top of every kid's computer. My students all have Chromebooks, so Chrome works for their computers, and they can talk into their machine, and the machine will write down what they say as best as it can, and then they can also have the computer read a book to them so that they can better understand it. That's when you can personalize your information, right? You can make things slower, you can make things faster, depending on what you need as an individual reader, thinker, learner. So these are really important. There's also some other text-to-speech software like Natural Reader and Voice Dream Reader. So these are apps that are customizable so that it fits for what you need. Anyone out there a fan of audiobooks? When you've got a long car ride, yeah. So depending on, how, if you're able to focus or not, you might, there's a book and I'm not into the narrator, I'm gonna slow it down because I'm not understanding it. My processing speed is slower versus if there's an author and a topic that I have background information, I have a context on already, I can speed that up 1.5, I can get that through that book in a day. My commute to work, my commute home from work, okay? All right, so these are some really cool things, and so this is what I was talking about. So Read and Write is a comprehensive literacy software that includes text-to-speech functionality along with other features like word prediction and study tools. So this is helping students study the information, take notes in class, and it also helps to predict the words that they're writing next, which saves you time, all right? So we want to use technology, we want to use artificial intelligence to save us time, to make us more productive, to make us more efficient, and to make us more confident about what we're going through. All right. Like I said, I don't have access to anything that's paid, and so Dragon Speaking is something that's a paid program that I don't have, but Google Docs has come a long way just in a few years, and there are buttons you can click on where you can just talk right into your Google Doc. I can grade a student's assignment, and then I can say an audio comment feedback about what they need to work on and what they did really well. It can also translate, right? Our translating software has not always been good, and when we translate information into different languages, there's a lot that can be lost. But Google Docs now works really well for my EL students, my English learner students, and there's just a button, you go down and you click translate, and it can translate into like 300, 500 languages. So it is pretty cool where it's come. How far it's come. Otter AI is another one that I haven't tried yet, but that keeps popping up in my searches when I've been doing research. And then what we're going to talk about today is Open Dyslexic, okay? So at the beginning of my talk tonight, I talked about fonts and extensions that you can use to support your daily life. And so Open Dyslexic is easy. You get it on the Google Chrome store, the extension, and it's a font that's designed specifically for people with dyslexia. So a study was done by two women. I forget which university they were out of. I can share the research document with you. They have created this free software for anyone. I just started using it this week in my classrooms because, again, who is sitting in front of my classroom and who could the font benefit, right? If it's going to benefit a few students, but it's not harming the whole classroom, I'm going to use something that's going to benefit my students. And so Open Dyslexic is a really good, it changes the font on every website that you're watching, on every page that you're on your browsers, your window browsers, and it even has a highlighter tracker feature to follow you along as you're reading. So these are all really cool strategies that we're going to talk more about, we're going to look more into. But we want to do some writing activities, okay? So we can also use some of these other maps, just to, mind mapping tools to help you organize information. So what is connecting to what, right? This is like beyond Venn diagrams, but it's really helping you to organize your notes when you are studying any kind of a topic. And we also have MindMeister and Evernote, which are also good, and you can bring in audio recordings, you can bring in images, and so it really helps to get the multisensory learning, brings it all together. All right, so what we're gonna do, and this is a screener, it is a dated screener from 2001, but this is one that, if you have thought about, maybe you might have dyslexia, this is an adult screener that is online that anyone can take. It's not going to be a formal diagnosis, but it might help someone out there. Okay, so I think that was the last. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to do an email etiquette lesson today. So we're all going to practice writing an email. All right, this is something that we all have to do. We all have to send emails. We need to communicate. Okay, here we go. So let me make this bigger. All right, this is not going to be bigger. Let's go there. All right, here we go. So I made a template for everybody. There's a link right in here, but we can go ahead and get started in our notebooks today to practice writing. So this is the highlighter. So I have added this puzzle piece, this Chrome extension. This is my Open Dyslexic that I've added, and this is the highlighter that is helping me track the line that I'm on to read. Does everybody see that? So I'll talk a little bit about email. Whenever you're drafting an email, we do want to make sure that we're aware of these lines. Who are we sending the email to? So if you're just having normal conversation and you just want to connect with someone, obviously put them in the to line, okay? All of these people will be able to see all of these people. If it's CC, it's that carbon copy, right? And so that is just someone that you are adding on to your email, so they might not be as essential to the conversation, but maybe you want to say that, oh, my sister, I just want her to be aware of this conversation. That's who you're going to put and CC, just people that you're adding in that are just kind of aware of it, right? So I think we CC'd Stow TV tonight just to make sure he was aware that we were having this meeting so that he would be here. And then BCC is the blind copy, okay? So when you're sending an email and you don't want someone to see who else you're talking to, you're going to put them in a BCC. So if I was working with Scott and I was doing a newsletter just kind of by myself, I was doing a newsletter for Dyslexia Together, and I got all these emails, all right? I gave you some emails, Stow TV gave you some emails, the library gave you some emails, our friend over there gave us some emails. For privacy reasons, you're just sending information out to people. You don't need all of them to reply or respond or make some kind of a group chat. So you want to BC everybody so that you're just sending the newsletter out and there's not a lot of commentary afterwards. Does that kind of make sense? So 2, regular conversation, CC, carbon copy, those are the people that you can add in. They can listen in on the conversation. BCC, you don't want anyone to listen in on the conversation, okay? Always have a subject line, right? Some people are infamous at just deleting emails, okay? So if you don't have a good subject line, your email could be in the trash. So if it's urgent, and it's really urgent, put urgent in the line. If it's just like, this can wait, if it's just FYI, just letting you know, put any of those extra things in there. All right, so we're going to write our email tonight. Who should we send our email to? The director. We're going to send our email to Tina from the library, okay? That's who we're going to send our email to, all right? And what should we be talking to her about? Oh, this is feedback on the course, okay? Just from session 1. That's what we're going to do. And so we need to have a greeting. This is how we organize our thoughts into clear writing. We want to have a greeting. Lots of different options here. You can kind of grab them, right? These are templates, and this is what AI takes from, right? There's a certain way of formality. There's lots of different greetings, lots of different closings that people have used. And so if you tell Chat GPT, write me an email with a funny tone, sarcastic tone, you're going to get something very different than if you said, write an email like I'm talking to the president, all right? And so it's got more of that elevated, that formal tone. So you want to think about, so if you are using AI, you can tell it what you want to do. If not, you can think through what you know how to do. And this is the template for writing an email. All right, so if you are talking to just someone that's a friend or a colleague, right? Hello, doesn't need to be super formal. But if you're talking and you're writing a letter, you're advocating for an issue that you care about, you might want to say, dear so-and-so, dear hiring manager, I am the right person for this job because. So you do want to think about the greeting that you're using depending on the context or the situation. We always care about situation, audience, right, and tone. And then write your body. Keep it short, brief. If it doesn't need to be long, don't make it longer. This is a problem as an English teacher. I might tell Chat GPT just to shorten my writing from now on because sometimes we just add too many details and it confuses people. Closing. I like best. I use that one all the time. Regards is very fine. Cheers is what my husband likes to use. And then take care sincerely is more formal. Okay, so we're going to take the last 10 minutes and we're going to write an email using this format, okay? But before we finish up, for our viewers at home, can we all do something? So if you do have a computer in front of you, we're going to go to just Google search engine. I'm using Chrome, right? This is a Chrome search bar that I'm using. This is the window, the search engine on the internet that I'm using. And it goes right to Google. So this is the best way to find the extensions that you want. So I'm going to go to Chrome Store. and I think it's like web. All right, so here we go. I know this is hard to see at home. This is not working great for me. But I've already added Open Dyslexic, and that's why it has changed the font. And it has, it's darker at the bottom, and so the letters are easier to notice and to identify. So we are just going to go to the Chrome web store. This is where you get all your extensions if you're using a Google Chrome web browser. I'm going to type in Open Dyslexic, and this is it right here. I'm using this one right here, DX. So you put that into your browser, add it to Chrome, say add extension, and there you have it. It pops right up here in your internet bar. And then when you go to different pages, and sometimes it goes into this puzzle, Open Dyslexic will add my tracker bar here to help me read, okay? And it'll change the fonts whenever I need to use that. So this is the first tech tip that we're going to be using to help us when we're researching or reading online, okay? All right, so that was it for today. And we'll come back and we'll look at more of these as we meet and convene again. All right, so we're going to practice our writing technique, and we're going to write an email that we're going to send to our librarian. All right, so we're going to just do some last-minute closing. Scott, do you want to come up and say any last words?
I guess right off the bat, for me, I'm all about the free tools. The one thing that I've been totally against from day one is companies and people making money off of dyslexia. We already have a hard time. There's no reason for us to have to pay to help out our disability. So Kelly has talked about some free tools. She's going to go further into that, she said. So that was the first thing. Google Docs, fantastic. I learned how to use Google Docs. That's a great tool, and I'm sure you're going to get more into the Google Docs. Fantastic. And I'm really interested in the mind mapping. I just learned about it, just heard about it, and I'm super excited. I hope you enjoyed the presentation today. I'm going to let Kelly have the last word, but we're back again in 2 weeks, right here. So come join us. So thank you very much. Kelly?
Yes. Again, thanks, Scott, for having me tonight. We would love to continue to partner and to work with other people and see what would best help our community. So we will definitely focus on the free tools. We want to build our confidence around dyslexia. We want to talk about all the fabulous people that have dyslexia and are super successful, right? And then we also just want to make sure that we're practicing writing each class so that we have some of the basic tools to help us succeed in our daily lives. So thank you very much.